Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley back with another How to Draw video. Before I get started, I have to acknowledge the big news today, the death of Osama bin Laden. I think regardless of how you feel about the war on terror, you can agree that we all hope this will lead to more peace throughout the world, a little less bloodshed. But hey, you don't watch these videos to hear me talk about current events. Let's get into a drawing lesson. I am going to begin with a quick little time-lapse thing here as I teach you how to draw one particular pose, a guy sitting on the ground. And this was pose number 1 mentioned in my last video. Again, I'll time-lapse this. I'm just going to be drawing a couple of very simple squares here to help us get our lines in the right place. Okay, so I've got these two simple squares. I kind of like to start with something that's easily repeatable. My squares are about 3 inches on each side. And this is going to help me go in and start getting these lines in the right place. I'm going to start by drawing this guy's head. Notice in the pose that I'm drawing here, that's a little further to the right side of the square than to the left. And then I'm going to go in here and put a line that is sort of a basic guideline for his shoulders. Now, when I get to the final drawing, his real shoulders will not actually follow this line, but this sort of helps us get some of these other lines in place. Now notice the line of his back comes down here until it pretty much reaches the left line over here. I'm going to have it curve down right around here, throw in a line for, sort of turn this whole thing into a big curving rectangle almost. A lot of people don't like guidelines, and if you don't, just skip this part and you can move on to the details later on. I'm doing one of his legs here. It's going to come up until it just passes that middle line of the two squares, and then shoots down here. I'm going to put in just rough lines for one of his feet. Then another rough, and I'm just sort of doing the outer edge of this because this is all going to get replaced later on, but this is going to be the line of the second leg as it comes back down towards the 2 feet sort of come together at this point. One last guideline here for his arm, coming down right until it sort of meets this line right near the tip of this knee, and then comes across here. Where we will eventually be drawing one of his hands. So these are the super rough basic guidelines. Now I'm going to go into sort of firming things up a little. I'm going to put a sort of crosshair type line here that will eventually show me where to put the eyes, the nose, the mouth, etc. Put a basic guideline in here of the neck, and as I said, the shoulders actually kind of slope a little more in real life. And I'm going to indicate just a little bit of a curve here of his shoulder. Here I want to sort of redraw this a little bit to make his knee and sort of the shape of his leg look like a real human leg. And we're going to get a second line in here for the other side, sort of his the lower half of his leg. All of this stuff, just sort of comes with time. I'm drawing one particular pose here. In fact, some people may look at this video and say, you're not really teaching us how to draw poses in general. You're just drawing, teaching us one pose. And I can try to do later on a video that's more like how to draw poses in general. But the truth is, I think it's always a combination of drawing poses in general and memorizing particular poses. That's the way it works for me. I sort of study anatomy. I try to learn as best I can the different body parts, how they fit together, but then I find that I have to sort of memorize entire poses. So you can see me taking what were these very basic stick figure lines of the legs and sort of making them have more mass and more weight and look more like real legs. Now it's time to get this other arm in place. The guy is sort of like resting his head on his hand, sort of thinking about something or whatever. And so we get a couple of lines in here to indicate the other hand, and maybe just a little bit of the shoulder. The other shoulder you can see just tucked around there. And I think at this stage you've kind of at least got the proportions of this particular pose in place. Now we can start to move on to greater details. I'm trying to do as much of this in real time as I can, but I may have to cut to more of a time-lapse thing towards the end. Let's go ahead and I'm going to draw what are supposed to be like headphones. This guy, I don't know, sort of randomly decided that he's sitting listening to music. So I'm going to sort of rough that in. And you can't really see the other side of his head in this pose, so it's enough to just get the basics of that in place. Then I could spend a whole video talking about the placement of the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and so forth, so sort of bear with me here as I dash this part in rather quickly. I think if this is more of a video about the pose in general rather than getting too much into the details of the face. So I've got that in place. I'm going to just dash in quickly some indication of his hair. But you can see the importance of getting those initial guidelines in place in terms of figuring out the proportions, making sure that the head relates to the body in the right way. I'm going to make him wearing a bit of a hoodie. Is that what we call that? I don't really know. I'm no expert on clothing, but he's got this sort of sweatshirt type thing on. And it's at this stage that we really start getting more and more into the actual details of the drawing. And I did a video a while back on the clothing folds. I think we can always use more videos like that. There's a logic to the way that wrinkles appear when the arm is bent in different places. It sort of comes with practice, and with time you start to develop a sense of where those lines should go. Right here at the knee, almost invariably, even when the leg is not bent, you get a lot of wrinkles up here near the knee. That's sort of typical. And now that we're getting into the more detailed aspect, I'm going to have the pant leg sort of separate a little bit from that earlier indication of the lower leg. Do the same thing over here. This little area near the knee is where wrinkles tend to form a lot, and then also down near the feet you're also going to generally find a lot of wrinkles forming right there. I'm sort of refining things. I'm feeling like the arm here was a little too thick, so I'm sort of making it a little thinner. I think no matter how many years you've been working at drawing poses, you're never going to get it exactly right on the first go. You're always sort of erasing things and reworking them as you zero in on the final pose that you're working on. I feel like we need to actually move this down the line of his butt. You have to make adjustments there. Maybe a couple more lines here. And yeah, you know, we're coming up on, what is it? It's like more than 9 minutes now that I've devoted to getting all these lines in place. I think I am going to have to do a little time lapse at the end rather than have this video go on and on and on. But I think you'll all agree that the main trouble with drawing a pose is getting those initial lines in the right place. And once you've got the initial lines, you know, the proportions in there properly, you'll probably want the details of the drawing to be different anyway. You know, you may not want this to be, you may be using this pose for your own character, right? So hopefully no one will complain too much or be too disappointed as I kick it into time-lapse for the last minute or so of this video. So I'm going to try to zoom in, though, as I do each individual part so you can get a better look at the details of it. Alright, well, sorry I sped through so much of that in time-lapse. I can already see the comments. Hey, man, you didn't teach us about the shading part. Looks like I will have to do another video that focuses on shading. In the meantime, let me go ahead and thank anyone who has supported me by getting my graphic novel series from HarperCollins called Meeky Falls. There are 4 books in this series. We've also got a new series from Dark Horse Comics, Brody's Ghost, Book 1 and Book 2. I really do greatly appreciate you guys getting those books and for giving me your feedback on them. For now, though, I think I better put the pencil down. And as always, thank you for watching my videos, and promise that I will be back with another one real soon.